But as of now, I would like to request Mr. VENU from ABB to kindly address us.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guest, Sheikh Nawaf and Ghanshyam Prasad, and my dear friends and colleagues. So it's really great to be here, honored to be here. And just allow me to introduce myself and from where I come from. So my name is VENU Nuguri, and I head the Power Grid Division in the region, Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So as part of my role, I had a great opportunity to meet many of the colleagues, and really look forward to meeting again. So since Sheikh has used the word, electrons, I like to connect it, to take, for example, ABB, what kind of business we do, from power grids, especially power grid standpoint. We are in the business enabling flow of electrons. Okay, we are in the business, we bring the technologies which enable flow of electrons. For example, you close the switch in the switch gear, then the electrons flow starts. You operate the relay, then your circuit is closed, and then you are able to do that. HVDC, you give a command, and you are enabling the flow of the electrons in a bulk way in that. So that's where is the business in that. So what is really happening, in fact, even though I have my presentation in the afternoon, I'd just like to give you a couple of high-level things. A really a big step up is happening in our industry. The way in which, take a simple example of smartphone, how that has brought a paradigm shift, the way in which we connect, the way in which engage socially, the way in which we communicate, and the way in which we do the business, and which has also resulted at disruptive business models. Take, for example, Uber, Netflix. You can give n number of examples how that has brought, and we are witnessing today exactly the same thing is happening in our power sector. The only thing is we are, if you take the curve as a S, we are at a lower level of that particular revolution. What we're calling the energy revolution, which is really, and it is really happening in every nook and corner of our geographies. Happening faster than we think, and happening quicker than we expected it. And by the time we think a megawatt-sized solar plant is already up and running, connecting, creating a huge opportunities as well as the challenges. So from an ABB standpoint, we have, what we have, the 6 elements of evolving grid. You call it evolving grid, future grid. They are creating a huge challenges for everyone in the power sector landscape. And these challenges also creating a huge amount of opportunities for us. So what are those 6 elements? As Sheikh has rightly said, you really think big, you're talking about 60 gigawatt of, power flow, And one of the elements is what we're calling as a interconnection, or you call it the super grids. So the vision from them was connect the nations, connect the continents, make a worldwide super grid, and take the advantage of the time differences. And you don't need to create capacities in every country. Take the advantage of that, take the time differences, and a huge amount of opportunities. There's also one expert has put a value tag to that, $50 trillion worth of power trade flows in that. Okay, how much is feasible? Other thing is $1 million question. The question is, at least we see in part it's happening, the grid connections in a big way. Today, more and more, Europe is already connected in that. And the second is a very, completely opposite view from the super grid. Maybe it's coming from, let's say, Americans' viewpoint. Every house, you have a rooftop and you have a battery in the basement. So you can generate your own thing, you can, store it, and it can be grid connected, on and off grid connected. Depending upon the need, you can, pumping back to the grid, or if you want more, you can draw from the grid. So whether it is a super grid versus a nano grid or a mini grids, it's not about contradicting. In our view, both options are coexisting depending upon the geographic, depending on the territory. And the good part is that the technologies are available for both the options in that. And the third and fourth elements are also creating, again, a lot of challenges and opportunities in that. For example, with energy storage versus power quality in that. It's not, contradicting about it, but both needs to coexist in that. Take an example of our electrical vehicles. There are many people in every country, they're already naming several hundreds of thousand vehicles are coming in the next 10 to 15 years time. So electric vehicle charging, by virtue of the semiconductors, it's a new form of loads. From the utility standpoint, it's very good because it's consuming it. But by virtue of the semiconductors, it's also producing harmonics into the grid. It's polluting the grid. So you need to also mindful of these new forms of loads are also creating, pollution into the grid. How do we take care of that? So this third and fourth. The fifth element, what we're talking about, is the digitalization, okay? And the digitalization is real because as we see more and more variable resources are coming in a big way, and many countries has, percentage of renewable over a period of time. Some countries, they are already, take for example in Europe, they're already in excess of 30-40%. And many countries, they have plans to come to at least 20 to 30 and more percentage. As we go forward, the future is always green and renewable. That's going to be there. And the fossil power plants, I don't see them coming anymore in the future in that because sun is available everywhere, the wind is blowing almost every corner of the world. So there is no point, consuming our earth by, producing the CO2. That's not the point in that. So that while so much of renewables are penetrating, the digitalization is the key in our power sector. How do we get the more transparency? How do we get the more visibility, transparency of, able to project it correctly and accurately and this kind of thing. And the last element I must tell you here is a very, very interesting thing happening in what we call as the business models. The business models, as I've given a couple of examples, whether it is Uber or Netflix, how they brought paradigm shift. Take, for example, Uber. What's the business model? What kind of company it is? They don't have any infrastructure use. They don't produce anything. They don't have any engineering capability. They're basically a platform. They're bringing all the stakeholders to one place where they're able to trade in that. And we see a similar situation is happening in a very big way. As my previous people talked about the business, if everything is going as a nano grid, so what is the business model of the utilities? So utilities cannot do the same thing, right? Utilities are available for producing, for showing backup. Because let's take, for example, a particular town, if it has got 10,000 houses, if everybody is producing and consuming and storing, then the utilities business model need to be different. They need to be evolved differently. And that's what we are seeing in that. I'll give you another example of a company called Next Kraftwerke, a German-based company. They don't own any power plants. They don't own any network. But they are trading more than 6,000 megawatt at this point in time. It's very small started a few years back. Today they are more than 6 giga. And the rate of growth every year is high double digit, the VENU. So what do? They brought almost 1 megawatt and above power producers onto the platform. 1 megawatt, they have more than 5,000 people. And similarly, the bulk power consumers, the high tension consumers in some countries they call, in some countries they call it the bulk tension. So they are able to trade and at the same time able to maintain the grid stability and other things. So these are the disruptive things happening in our industries to start with that. So companies like us, let me just close my remark, we are in the business of enabling flow of electrons. We cannot continue it in the same way. What we are doing, we are adding more controlization. We are adding more optimization. How can we make our customers to take care of these changes which are coming in a very dramatically in our industry and taking care of that. That's where is, if you really look at our portfolio, you can also see in my subsequent presentation, and we are doing a lot of optimization, digitalization, and controllability. Today the controllability is a thing because power is no more a one-directional thing. It's gone. Today for sure there are two-directional, bi-directional. But not only that, it's a multi-directional because in the grid there are several nodes, several takeoff points and feed-in points. And the way in which it's happening is multifold. I again give an example. I happened to meet one of the CEOs of utility in Germany, in Sigre, Paris. And while talking to me, he was mentioning to me that not very long ago, there used to be a power plants of various sizes in Germany, less than 5,000. Today they have more than 2.5 million. More than 2.5 million power plant. That means that much stress it will put into the grid. That means you have so many feed-in points and so many takeoff points. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a really, really exciting thing, and I'm really happy what we are discussing is already implemented in GCCA under the able and dynamic leader of Sheikh Nawaf. And we have to see a lot of things, how can we take those things and implement across the region and the rest of the world. With that, I'm really looking forward to engaging with you all and showing you how the enabling technologies are already in place, which can make these interconnections a really happening things in the world. Thank you. I'm looking forward to.